My name's Keith Nitka, and I'm proud to be the Battleship Operations Manager here on board Battleship Wisconsin. And I want to thank you for joining me today on this WisKy Wednesday virtual adventure. I want to talk about these gentlemen here, the commanding officers of Battleship Wisconsin. So of the 14 commanding officers that we've had, 11 of them went on to become at least a Rear Admiral with 1 star. 13 of the 14 commanding officers are all United States Naval Academy graduates. The captain of Battleship Wisconsin is also literally a captain in the United States Navy. Now, to be the captain of a ship, you don't necessarily need to be a captain in rank. Here on Battleship Wisconsin, you do. But case in point is John F. Kennedy, President of the United States, during his wartime service, was commanding officer of PT 109. The sailors on board the boat called him captain or skipper, but in his rank was lieutenant junior grade. So again, you don't need to be the captain to be a captain, but in our case, you have to be a captain to be a captain. So follow me along as we walk through the captains of Battleship Wisconsin. So this is the first commanding officer, Captain Earl Everett Stone. He was commanding officer from April 16th, 1944 until February 20th, 1945. Other than being the very first commanding officer of Battleship Wisconsin, he was the executive officer on board the USS California. So he is a Pearl Harbor survivor, and he retired as Rear Admiral. The second captain is John Wesley Roper. He was commanding officer from February 20th, 1945 until December 18th, 1945. He was the operations officer for the South Pacific area before getting to Battleship Wisconsin, where he planned the Guadalcanal and Solomon Island campaigns. The next commanding officer is Clark Lawrence Green. He was commanding officer from December 18th, 1945 until March 11th, 1947. And he won the Bronze Star for his valuable work as coordinating the activities of U.S. and British fleets during World War II prior to his service on board Battleship Wisconsin. The next commanding officer is Captain John Martin Higgins. He was the decommissioning captain for Battleship Wisconsin from her first period of service from March 11th, 1947 until July 1st, 1948. And he is also a survivor of Pearl Harbor. He was the communications officer on board the USS Pennsylvania while she was in Pearl. And then he, of course, was the decommissioning captain the first time period. Next, we have Captain Thomas Burrows. He's the commanding officer and second generation pre-com first commissioning officer. His first assignment to the Navy was on board the USS West Virginia, another battleship in the fleet, and during World War II commanded destroyers. The next captain is Captain Henry C. Brutin. Captain Brutin was commanding officer from February 22nd, 1952 until September 24th, 1952. He first entered the Navy on board battleships, the USS California and USS Mississippi, but then entered the submarine service and made his way all the way up to commanding officer on patrol boats during World War II. So he is one of 2 commanding officers that USS Wisconsin had that actually saw service in the submarine fleet. Captain Foley is our next commanding officer, September 24th, 1952 till September 9th, 1953. At this time, Wisconsin was the flagship of Commander 2nd Fleet, and Wisconsin steamed towards Oslo, Norway, and joined in the first major combined NATO naval exercise known as Operation Mainbrace. Captain Foley is the second of the 2 commanding officers of Battleship Wisconsin that are actually submariners. Next commanding officer is Michael D. Flarity, September 9th, 1953 until June 11th, 1954. He saw service on board the USS Maryland during World War II and was also the head of seamanship and navigation departments over at the Naval Academy before getting to the USS Wisconsin as commanding officer here. After Captain Flarity is Captain Goldsboro S. Patrick, June 11th, 1954 until September 3rd, 1955. He had a very long career in the Navy, culminating as Inspector General of the Navy in 1963. The next commanding officer is Frederick S Keeler, September 3rd, 1955 till September 1st, 1956. He started off on board the battleship USS Colorado during World War II before making his way up to commanding officer of Battleship Wisconsin. Captain John Ogders Minor, September 1st, 1956 until March 8th, 1958. He saw service on board the battleship Maryland and was also on the Utah, the Minneapolis, and then was executive officer on the USS Meade. And then, of course, Captain Minor was the second decommissioning commanding officer of Battleship Wisconsin, and he finished off the 1950s era. Our next commanding officer is Jerry Blesh. Jerry Blesh was commanding officer October 22nd, 1988 until September 28th, 1990. He is the first commanding officer of the third generation Battleship Wisconsin, and also my first commanding officer when I got here on board Battleship Wisconsin. Captain Blesh was, before getting to Battleship Wisconsin, the commanding officer of the USS Puget Sound, which was the 6th Fleet flagship, home port in Gaeta, Italy. Our next commanding officer is David S. Bill III. He was commanding officer of Battleship Wisconsin from September 28th, 1990 until April 27th, 1991. He is the Gulf War commanding officer. I also served under Captain Bill, of course, during the Gulf War. And Captain Bill was part of river patrol boats in the Mekong Delta in 1968-1969. After Captain Bill, we have our final commanding officer of Battleship Wisconsin, Conrad Vander. He was commanding officer April 27th, 1991 until September 30th, 1991. Of course, I also served under Captain Vander during our time on board Battleship Wisconsin. Captain Vander is the only non-academy graduate. Captain Vander received his commission through Officer Candidate School in Newport, Rhode Island, after earning a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry from Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. So I want to thank you for joining me today on this WisKy Wednesday virtual adventure. You come on board the ship, you take the tour, you can see the pictures here and learn more about the captains when you come on board. So thank you, and have a great day.